Now, again, okay. So, again on another topic. Good morning. Mukhang madami na namang wala sa inyo. May exam ba kayo? May exam ba kayo, Mr. Evangelista?
Wala naman po, Doc.
O, kasi 21. You are 40. And it is past 10:45 actually. It's 10:51 already. Anyway, so we are on the second to the last topic on renal physiology. We will be discussing today on renal acid-base balance. The last topic on avian renal physio, I'll just give it as a narrated video narration. And it's still included in your exam. No? So, ano kaya ito? So we will schedule your exam next week for Physiolec. Tingnan natin yung lab kung natapos natin. So pwede ring magkasabay na lang para isang puntahan na lang. And maybe ang tentative natin would be either Wednesday or Thursday. Thursday yung inyong class, laboratory class. Kasi tomorrow we'll do the reporting already. So we can also have the exam by next week. Okay, so tentative yun ha. It's either Wednesday or Thursday. Sige. So, punta na tayo sa topic natin today on renal acid-base balance. So, I have a video narration here, so I'll just button from time to time. Just tell me kung hindi malinaw yung audio. And I'll adjust from time to time kasi yung aking pointer is hindi naka-align din sa picture. Another topic on renal physiology on renal acid-base balance, and this is one of the many important functions in the body. No? So, why acid-base regulation is very important? No? So you see the blood. No, the normal blood pH is approximately 7.4, and this pH is yung ating cellular function is optimum, no? So that this blood pH of 7.4 should be maintained, so that cellular function is also maintained, no? Pag meron kasing changes, pag tataas or bababa, maging acidic or maging basic, then the normal function now of the cell will be on metabolism will of course be affected kasi the enzymes that are needed for these metabolic processes should requires a normal blood pH. And there are three systems in the body that maintains acid-base balance. No, you have the body fluid buffers that we have discussed in your physio 1, no, which includes yung mga bicarbonate buffer system natin and orthophosphate buffer system. Number 2 would be the lungs, and number 3 would be the kidneys. No? And usually, no, the first two systems, or the first that would correct the changes in the blood pH, while last yung ating kidneys, because its control is slow, no? Yung pag-control niya ng acid-base balance will be more takes time, no, than the two systems. And if we're talking about acid-base quality in the body, it's actually more on acidosis, metabolic acidosis than alkalosis. No, why? Because acid is basically, or H plus hydrogen ion is basically a product of cellular metabolism. So hindi siya kasi pwedeng mag-dump up or tumaas ang levels of blood. No, otherwise the pH of the blood will be altered. And it's very rare that we have metabolic alkalosis. Okay? So, question, anong pH pag merong metabolic acidosis? With the blood plasma normal 7.4. What would be considered acidosis? What's the blood pH?
6 po, Doc.
Okay, no? So, actually, below, nasa 7.2, no? Below, no? So, that would be considered metabolic acidosis. Remember kasi, as the pH goes down, no? The higher the hydrogen ion concentration. Tapos na natin yan sa figure 1. No? So we are now in systemic physio. We will talk about how the kidneys help in regulating yung ating blood pH. Kasi tapos naman na natin yung blood buffer sa physio 1. Diba? Nakita nyo naman parang yung buffer natin, yung base natin will just accept the proton to neutralize it. Diba? For the lungs, we will be discussing it when we go to the respiratory system. So for now, we'll be discussing the kidneys. Okay? I hope malinaw bakit tayo nagkakaroon ng why the body regulates blood pH and what are the measures. Are the systems involved? As we have said, no, unang-una that will be involved if we have metabolic acidosis would be our blood buffers. Okay. So what does a buffer do? Pag sinabi mong buffer, these are actually conjugate bases, no? Ang example na nilagay dito is bicarbonate because it's a base, therefore it can accept a proton. And your hydrogen ion, which is the acid, is a proton. So when it combines with this base, no, it forms carbonic acid. Of course, we need the enzyme carbonic anhydrase if you still remember that from vision 1. So by combining with the base, no, so yung ating hydrogen ion is converted to an acid which eventually will be converted to carbon dioxide and water, and carbon dioxide now is released in the through the lungs, no, so that hydrogen ion will be neutralized. Okay, so that's the first, the buffer. And number 2 is the lungs, no? So again, how does the lungs help in the regulation of acid, no, in the body is by favoring this reaction, no? Favors this reaction, meaning if the acid is high, no, this reaction is favored so that carbonic acid is reduced and it will split into carbon dioxide and water, and carbon dioxide goes out. So pag madami ang hydrogen ion sa katawan, ang gagawin ng katawan is to breathe faster so that carbon dioxide will be released faster so that hydrogen ion is in turn nare-release in the form of carbon dioxide. And the last would be sa ating kidneys, no? So how does the kidney help in the regulation of acid-base balance? So uunahin muna natin how does the kidney help in metabolic acidosis states, kasi yun nga yung sabi natin more common. Kidney's role is to help regulate blood pH by excreting H plus or reabsorbing bicarbonate. Remember, pag metabolic acidosis, mataas ang H+, no? So, ibig sabihin, meron kang acidosis. So, is either i-excrete niya yung hydrogen ion or mag-reabsorb ng bicarbonate. And that would both help in normalizing blood pH to normal. And the kidney is actually responsible for the excretion of most excess hydrogen ion. So, that are involved in the excretion of excess acid, you have the proximal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct. So si PCT actually secretes majority of the excess acid. And the collecting duct also, di ba? Naalala nyo yun? Depending on the state of the body, no? If you have aldosterone, it will also help in the excretion of hydrogen ion. But also, if the body has high hydrogen ion, hydrogen or the H plus or acid will also be secreted. The collecting duct also controls or determines the final urine pH. Okay? So, don't forget that the collecting duct will be the one that will determine if the voided pH the pH of the voided urine will be acidic or basic. Okay? Siya yung magkocontrol ng final urine pH. Okay? So, for the secretion of hydrogen ion, two segments of the renal tubule is involved, the PCT and the collecting duct. But the final pH will depend on the collecting duct. In these segments, doon nasi-secrete or ni-excrete ang acids or H+. To do this, no? So we have the sodium-hydrogen exchanger, which is found mainly in the PCT, and the other two, electrogenic H80-base pump and then hydrogen ion potassium ATPase pump. No? All are involved in the transport of acid out. No? Okay, so we identify which segments secretes or excrete. Pag sinabi natin secrete, parati is from the capillaries, from the blood going into the renal tubular lumen. Pag sinabi natin reabsorb, it's the other way around. So, in secreting acids by these two segments, nagagamit siya ng mga transport proteins. Alala niyo ang mga transport mechanisms natin? The sodium-hydrogen exchanger, the electrogenic hydrogen ion ATPase pump, and then hydrogen ion potassium ATPase pump. So, from these three, ito yung mga pumps na ginagamit. Naaalala niyo pa ba? What are the types of transport mechanisms? Are these passive or active transport? Anyone? Sodium hydrogen exchanger, which means it's counter transport. Hydrogen ion ATPase pump and hydrogen potassium ATPase pump. Are these passive or active transport mechanisms?
Active daw.
Active. So which one is primary and which one is secondary? Primary active transport would be, kalimutan nyo na? Active kasi kailangan nila both ng ating source of energy. So, anong primary dyan? Mr. Purpose. Which are the primary active transport there? Of the, but wala talaga. Mr. Miss Andres, sorry. Yes, Neo, kasano kayo? Ang forward P, endocrinology pag ganyan. ATP, yun na nga lang ang inyong ano, di ba? A is, ibig sabihin, may enzyme to hydrolyze ATP. So, pag primary active transport, di ba, ATP ang main energy source. So, this two is primary and this one is secondary because sodium gradient naman ang energy source for the transport. So, the main route for hydrogen secretion in the PCT is through this sodium hydrogen exchanger or counter transport. Through the how CT now. Yung ating PCT here, ito yung proximal tubule natin kasi ito yung glomerulus, no? Hindi niya kayang i-tolerate ang mataas na pH. Kaya pag dumami ang hydrogen ion dito sa ating tubule ng PCT, it will be buffered. Alam niyo na yung buffer, di ba? It's a base, no? And usually, the bicarbonate buffer system. So it will react lang, it binds to your hydrogen ion. So again, magpo-form na tayo ng carbonic acid, di ba? And then, because of your carbonic anhydrase enzyme. And this carbonic acid splits into water and carbon dioxide. So both will be reabsorbed into the tubule cells. And again, inside, in the action of carbonic anhydrase, this will form now into carbonic acid. Now, bicarbonate now will be reabsorbed. And the H plus again is secreted. So, bicarbonate is being absorbed. So, meaning nadadagdagan ng base. Di ba? Basic kasi ang bicarbonate. So, it helps also in metabolic acidosis. Kasi ibig sabihin, pag acidosis, mababa yung pH. Pero pag nag-reabsorb ka ng bicarbonate, nadadagdagan yung base. No? So, itataas niya yung pH. Okay? So, that would be sa PCT. Okay. So, to clarify, no? So, it says here now, it's always hydrogen ion is being, it is always being excreted, no? In exchange for sodium. Nakikita niyo naman dito, no? So, hindi pwedeng dumami ang hydrogen ion, no? So, it is being buffered by bicarbonate that is present in the lumen to give rise to carbonic acid. Carbonic acid now will be will split into water and carbon dioxide being reabsorbed, no, to form again in the presence of carbonic anhydrase, no, to become carbonic acid. So it splits again into your hydrogen ion and then your bicarbonate. So dito, nare-reabsorb yung ating bicarbonate and then the hydrogen ion again is being secreted. So of course, in the blood, the more bicarbonate you have, the more hydrogen ion will hit buffer ulit. So it helps. Okay? And in here, so nawawala yung hydrogen ion kasi nababuffer siya ng bicarbonate in the lumen. Okay? So that's how the PCT, no, secretes hydrogen ion and reabsorbed by carbonate. Okay? Let's take a look at naman in the collecting duct. No? So, in the collecting duct, meron tayong tinatawag na mga type A intercalated cell. And these cells are the ones that are responsible in the secretion of acid in the collecting duct. So again, no, marami siyang carbonic anhydrase enzyme, yung ating type A intercalated cells, no? And you are familiar already with this equation here, no? So let's take a look at na lang muna the pictures para mas madali. So this is your intercalated cell in your collecting duct, no? So what happens is that ito yung intercalated cell natin, collecting duct, ito yung ating fluid tubule, ito yung ating capillaries. Okay? So inside the cell, no, yung ating carbon dioxide and water, in the presence of carbonic anhydrase will be formed into carbonic acid, and this is plates now, no? And hydrogen ion now will be secreted out into the tubule. No? So, using your ATPase pump. No? And then the bicarbonate will be reabsorbed, papunta na sa blood. So, two ways, no? Na-excrete yung hydrogen ion, and at the same time, yung ating bicarbonate is reabsorbed. So, if hydrogen ion is excreted, no, during metabolic acidosis ito, no? So, ibig sabihin, yung final pH ng urine mo, pag meron kang metabolic acidosis, yung mataas ng hydrogen ion, it's acidic kasi madaming H+. So, meaning mababa ang pH pag acidic. Okay? So, sana naintindihan ninyo, no? Guys, let's see. Nakita ninyo paano nasa-secrete ang hydrogen ion in the PCT and in the collecting duct. In the collecting duct, we have a special type of cell that secretes it, the type A intercalated cells. In the PCT, nakita ninyo that the hydrogen ion is being buffered, no, in the lumen by bicarbonate. So, what do you think will be the pH of the filtrate in the PCT? So, kunwari, pag mataas, may metabolic acidosis na, no? What will be the pH of the filtrate in the PCT? Is it acidic? Is it basic? Or is it within normal?
Acidic na.
Oh, why do you say so, ate? Sige, why do you say so, ate? Let's take a look at this picture here. Bakit siya magiging acidic sa tingin mo?
Kasi doon sa intercalated, o diba doon sa intercalated cells,
Dito sa PCT ang tanong ko, ate. Proximal convoluted tubule muna ang tanong ko. So dito sa PCT, what would be the pH of the filtrate in your PCT lumen?
mababa po daw. Kapag may metabolic acidosis po. Mababa po daw, acidic po.
Okay, so tingnan ninyo. What happens dun sa hydrogen ion that is being secreted by your renal proximal convoluted tubule cell. It is being buffered. So, ibig sabihin, yung filtrate nyo sa PCT is usually, yung kanyang pH is within normal. From the PCT going down to the DCT, ang pH nun ay normal. Nagbabago na lang siya when it goes to the collecting duct. Kasi nakikita nyo yung hydrogen ion dito ay nababuffer. Diba? And dalawang segment lang naman nasa-secrete ang hydrogen ion. So, ibig sabihin, even if there's metabolic acidosis, no, at the PCT, usually the filtrate is within normal because the hydrogen ion is being buffered. Okay? But when it comes to the collecting duct, pag meron kang metabolic acidosis, so tingnan ninyo dito, pag meron kang metabolic acidosis, hindi ba, what happens is that yung ating carbon dioxide and water forms carbonic acid, splitting to hydrogen ion, bicarbonate is being reabsorbed. Siyempre, ang bicarbonate, when it goes to the blood, it helps in buffering additional hydrogen ion, di ba? Pero tingnan ninyo, lumalabas yung hydrogen ion sa filtrate, in the urine, kasi nasa terminal ka na eh. So, ibig sabihin, if you have metabolic acidosis, more hydrogen ion goes into the urine. So, ano magiging pH ng urine? In the collecting duct. It would be acidic kasi mataas ang hydrogen ion. Okay, that's why the pH of the urine will be dictated by the collecting duct. So, kung meron kang metabolic acidosis, saka lang nagkakaroon ng madaming hydrogen ion, and then your urine becomes acidic. Okay? May question ba kayo? This is your intercalated cell. There are also cells in the collecting duct, particularly in the inner medullary collecting duct. Now, these are not intercalated cells, but still they help in the acid secretion via this other pumps, the sodium hydrogen ion exchanger and the hydrogen ion potassium ATPase pump. So this one is the hydrogen ion potassium ATPase pump. So in exchange of potassium, hydrogen ion is being secreted. Hindi ko nakikita dito yung exchanger. This one is more, nakita natin ito sa PCT, but wala kasi lang dito sa aking picture. And also substitution of ammonium for potassium. So dalawa, yung mechanism by collecting the secrete sodium via the hydrogen ion via the type A intercalated cell and the inner medullary collecting duct cells, using these pumps. Okay? So, aside from that, from those two, secretion of hydrogen ion, meron pang isa, another way in which yung ating another way wherein the kidneys get rid of acid, and metabolic acidosis is through ammonia genesis and excretion. So during metabolic acidosis, this production of ammonia in the proximal tubule is stimulated. And the ammonia is generated from the metabolism of glutamine amino acid, which is transported in these PCT cells during metabolic acidosis. So what happens from glutamine, once this is metabolized, it will yield ammonium and bicarbonate. Now, the ammonium is secreted, again, papunta doon sa renal tubule lumen. Nasisekrete siya in exchange of yung ating sodium. Again, nasisekrete yung ma-produce na ammonium in exchange of sodium.
Wait lang ha. Just to clear, na aside from the PCT secreting hydrogen ion during metabolic acidosis, it will also cause it to produce ammonium via the glutamine amino acids. Ito na yung nakita ninyo. That when it splits down, you have the ammonium and bicarbonate. Again, the ammonium will be exchanged with sodium. So ammonium goes now into the proximal tubule lumen here. The bicarbonate is being reabsorbed
of sodium. So ammonium now is in the PCT lumen. Now, once it reaches yung ating ascending thick loop of Henle, the ammonium is reabsorbed into the medullary interstitium. At this stage, since in the interstitium, the pH is higher, hindi na acidic, ammonium is converted to ammonia. Okay, nagiging ammonia siya in basic environment. And because mataas yung ammonia concentration here, dahil nga nare-reabsorb yung ammonia in this portion, in the TAL, so magkakaroon ng gradient. So mataas ang ammonia concentration in the interstitium, while doon sa collecting duct natin ay wala or kukunti. So that ammonia concentration will now diffuse. The ammonia will now diffuse into the collecting duct lumen because mas mataas ang concentration yan kaysa doon sa nasa collecting duct. And remember, diba, in the collecting duct, the intercalated cells, particularly the type K, secretes hydrogen ion in exchange of potassium. So the hydrogen ion that is released by the intercalated cells combined with ammonia, so na-neutralize na yung ating hydrogen ion, now goes to the urine. Okay? So, with, again, metabolic acidosis, yung urine that is voided is acidic, because nga, lumalabas na yung ating mga hydrogen ion. But this time, it is in conjunction with yung ating ammonia, that it becomes ammonium, which is excreted in the urine. So those are the three ways wherein the kidneys get rid of hydrogen ion during metabolic acidosis. Very rare, although very rare. Now, although very rare, in terms naman na in case na magkaroon ng metabolic alkalosis, the intercalated cells type B of the collecting duct can also secrete bicarbonate, and generate an alkaline urine. Kasi when you say alkalosis, the blood pH is high. So the tendency is to release hydrogen bicarbonate ion so that mabawasan yung base and then ma-return to normal yung ating blood pH. So the cells that are responsible naman for the secretion of bicarbonate ion would be yung ating type B intercalated cells. And When does your type B intercalated cells secrete bicarbonate? Of course, during, as I said, alkalosis, metabolic alkalosis. No? Pag meron tayong mga nagbibigay tayo ng mga aldosterone analogs, no? Kasi remember, when we give aldosterone, no, it secretes hydrogen ion. So the more you secrete hydrogen ion, nagiging basic yung pH ng blood. Another is dietary chloride restriction. Kasi if you see here, the bicarbonate usually is secreted in exchange for chloride, no, para ma-secrete siya. Now, if you don't have chloride, nagkaroon ng restriction, no, walang may exchange na chloride for bicarbonate. Kaya bicarbonate is not excreted in the urine. So, tulad, pag meron tayong chloride depletion, no, it may cause alkalosis kasi walang chloride na available for exchange with bicarbonate. So, take a picture here showing ito yung ating type B intercalated cell, those that secretes bicarbonate. So, kung ito yung tubular fluid natin, ito yung mga cells natin sa collecting duct, the type B, no? Tingnan ninyo, the chloride is in exchange with bicarbonate. So, again, of course, bicarbonate comes from, syempre, di ba? Carbon dioxide and water in the presence of carbonic acid generates bicarbonate. No? So, the bicarbonate is in exchange with chloride, and the hydrogen ion is actually absorbed in the blood. So, of course, this will decrease now the pH. No? At yun ang gusto natin with alkalosis, to decrease the pH kasi nga pag alkalosis mataas ang pH. So again, no, bicarbonate is in exchange with chloride. In effect, during metabolic acidosis and metabolic alkalosis, wherein bicarbonate is secreted in the urine, so anong pH ng urine natin pag may metabolic alkalosis? Of course, basic kasi or alkaline because of the bicarbonate that is secreted. And kailangan talagang masecrete siya para mabawasan yung base, para yung pH ng blood will become decreased, no? Or ma-bring back to normal, which is 7.4. So if you take a look at here, no, it says that the collecting duct is the one that determines the final urine pH and the acid excretion by the kidneys. No? So it depends kung metabolic acidosis, the intercalated A cells secretes hydrogen ion, and then pag alkalosis naman, the type B cells are the ones that secrete bicarbonate, which makes the urine alkaline. Pag metabolic acid, the urine is acidic. But there are species differences, of course, kasi may mga carnivores talaga tayo because of their diet. Acidic yung urine nila, at in ruminant, ang pH ng urine is alkaline. Okay? So the pH of the filtrate reaching the collecting duct is usually same with the glomerular filtrate, same with the blood. So, pagdating na lang sa collecting duct, doon na makikita ano yung magiging, may excrete, hydrogen ion ba or bicarbonate ion. Okay?
So, tatandaan nyo yun ha, yung pH ng filtrate from the PCT up to the DCT is within normal. Mag-change na lang siya pag nasa collecting duct na if type A or type B. Kung type A, acid, pag metabolic acidosis. Type B, pag metabolic alkalosis, so bicarbonate. So, doon na malalaman kung basic or acidic. But yung titignan ninyo, may mga species differences. Doesn't mean na sa carnivores ay parati silang merong metabolic acidosis. No, it's because of their diet. Kaya acidic ang urine. Ganyan din sa ruminants. Okay? So, sometimes, hindi nyo yun magiging basis para sabihin na may metabolic acidosis or alkalosis, no? Chine-check nila yung bicarbonate levels. So, yun yung magsasabi kung may acidosis or alkalosis. No? So, pag mataas, alkalosis. Pag mababa, acidosis. Ganun. Okay? So, can you now summarize, no? What will be the role of the kidney if there is metabolic acidosis? How will it adjust, no? Para ma-bring into normal yung blood pH natin. Sige nga, give one, Miss De La Cruz, dun sa discussion natin.
Metabolic acidosis po.
Mm.
Nagkakaroon po ng secretion of hydrogen sa proximal convoluted tubule.
Doon lang ba?
Tapos reabsorption of bicarbonate at proximal convoluted tubule and ammonia genesis, intercalated cells in the collecting duct, secretion of hydrogen ion, tas urine pH, voided acidic.
So, ibig sabihin, pag may metabolic acidosis, unang-una, magsisecrete ng hydrogen ion sa PCT at saka sa collecting duct. Diba? Tapos, ano pa sa PCT? Magkakaroon ng ammonia, genesis from glutamine. No? So, yung ammonia kasi will be the ones that will actually neutralize also the hydrogen ion that will be secreted by type A intercalated cells, no? Sa ating collecting duct. What about sa metabolic alkalosis? Ano naman ang role ng kidney doon?
Type B intercalated cell secretion of bicarbonate and urine pH voided as basic.
Okay, sige. Ha? So that's how the kidneys help in regulating the acid-base balance of the body. No? Siya na yung its action is more slow, no, than the respiratory system and the blood vessels. Okay? So dapat kaya
Depending on the state of the body. To summarize, these are the role of the kidneys if there will be metabolic acidosis. This will be the response. Secretion of hydrogen ion by the proximal convoluted tubule. At the same time, reabsorption of bicarbonate. Another is ammoniogenesis. And of course, the intercalated cells type A in the collecting duct secretes H+. So the urine that is voided in this case is acidic. Pag alkalosis naman, which is very rare, the type B intercalated cell secretes bicarbonate. And therefore, the urine pH voided is basic. Okay?
So that would be the role of the kidneys in acid-base balance. Do you have any questions, guys? So, siguro may time pa tayo. So, i-continue na natin para marami kayong time to review for the exam. So, I'll just share na lang yung sa Avian, no? Mabilis lang naman to kasi sa Avian renal physio, yung salient features lang ang ipapakita. Okay? So, wait lang. May open ko lang. It's, I think, not more than 30 minutes. So, may questions ba kayo sa renal acid-base balance? Screen. Okay, nakikita niyo ba yung screen ko? Hindi.
Meron po doon.
See,
Actually, this is a Zoom discussion.
so we might as well start. Where's mine?
Wait lang, ha? Mukhang meron akong problema sa pag-aaral. Wait lang, wait lang. Wait lang. This is actually recorded Zoom discussion. Saan na yun? Hanap na siya. Na-close ko siya. Sorry.
See.
Nakikita niyo?
So we might as well start. First one.
Nakikita niyo?
In terms. And I think I will not be able to give a module already. So please take note na lang or screenshot na lang kayo. Ano? And for those na only be discussing the salient features of your renal or of the avian kidneys, differentiating it from mammalian. Okay, so the avian kidneys, the same with the mammalian, we have a pair, right and left, but the difference is that it is located or it is fitted closely to the bone, dito sa ating vertebra, ng ating avian, and it has cranial, middle, and caudal lobes, But in terms of yung kanyang structure inside, it's basically the same. It has a cortex, the outer cortex, and it has an inner medulla. Okay, and the urine that will be formed from the nephrons will be again drained by your ureters. Okay, but in avian we don't have a urinary bladder, so the urine will go directly into the cloaca. Okay, so it's actually an adaptation for birds kasi of course birds or avian, some of them fly, and they to reduce weight, there's no urinary bladder, and let's see later on the appearance of their urine. Okay, and the basic functional unit also of your avian kidneys would be the nephron. So there's actually around 200,000 nephron in your chicken as against in human, which is around 1 million. And if we're talking about the parts of the nephron, it's basically the same, Although we have two types of nephron, we'll just take a look at later. Urine formation and elimination is similar, to mammals. Okay. So let's take out the differences of avian kidneys versus mammalian. In avian kidneys, there's two major nephron types. As against sa ating mammalian, we have actually also two, but only based on their location, the cortical nephron and your juxtamedullary nephron, tama? But for avian kidneys, there's two major nephron types, the mammalian type and reptilian type. Okay. Another difference is that there's another blood supply for the avian kidney, which comes from your renal portal system. And number 3, uric acid is the main nitrogenous component of the urine of avian, which in mammals would be urea. And number 4, the urine coming from the kidneys will undergo modification at the colon of your birds. Okay, so let's take up one by one the differences. Okay, so as I have said, there's two types of
avian nephron, reptilian, and mammalian. So their name actually is based on their function or the ability to concentrate. No? So in our reptilian nephron, no, this one, you can look at this picture here. No? Your reptilian nephron lacks your loop of Henle. So wala siyang loop of Henle. So if this would be your proximal convoluted tubule, and diretso ito, this will be your distal convoluted tubule. And the PCT and your DCT is connected by this intermediate segment. Okay, again, the reptilian nephron doesn't have loops of Henle, no? So PCT, DCT, and then pupunta na siya sa collecting duct. Sabi naman natin kanina, the same ang structure, no? But for this reptilian, wala siyang loop of Henle. So what would be the implication if there's no loop of Henle for this type of nephron? Anyone? What would be the implication? O kayo, anong implication pag walang loop of Henle? For this type of nephron. Saan ba importante ang loop of Henle? Can you still remember the countercurrent mechanism? Saan siya importante? Miss Quaresma, are you there? Hello?
Multiplier po siya, Doc.
So, i-multiply niya ang ano. It's important in making the interstitium high in osmolarity para makoncentrate yung urine, di ba? So, para makakoncentrate ng urine, ang nephron, kailangan niya ng loops of Henle. Para, no, yung amount ng water that goes out is not too much, mako-conserve, di ba? In terms of the function of this particular nephron, if there's no loop of Henle. Pareho din sila nun sa inyo, hindi sumasagot. Hello? Anybody? Ano ba ang function ng loop of Henle? Sige, kuya. Hello? Nasaan na siya? John? Wala ata siya. Sige.
Yes, Doc.
What would be the implication if there's no loop of Henle?
Di po ba, Doc, sa loop of Henle po kasi parang may parts pa po yun, Doc. Yung sa descending female, ascending female.
Yeah.
So kapag wala pong loop of Henle, Doc, ang mangyayari po, wala pong concentrating segment sa diluting segment na important po para sa pag-absorb ng water or ng electrolytes po, Doc.
Yes, that's correct. So this type of nephron has no ability to concentrate or to dilute. So ibig sabihin, urine will be voided without concentration, no? So yung conserve ng water will be affected. Remember, from the only 1% should be voided, no? If functioning yung ating loops of Henle. Now, without it, then much more of the urine will be voided, and the body will not be able to conserve water and electrolytes. That's very good. Okay, so in the mammalian nephron, as you could see here, this will be the mammalian nephron. You have now your loop of Henle. So basically, this nephron would have the ability to concentrate urine. Okay? So if these two are functional, 25% of the urine comes from the mammalian nephron and 75% from reptilian nephron. So depending on the need of the avian, no, reptilian or mammalian will be the predominant nephron that will be functioning. No? Okay, so that would be the two types of avian nephron. Okay, so ibig sabihin, if the avian needs to conserve water, magpa-predominate magpa-function ang mammalian. Pag hindi naman niya kailangan mag-conserve ng water, then magpa-predominate ang reptilian. Okay? Which is not present sa ating counterpart. Okay. So another difference of your avian kidneys would be it has two blood supply. Okay? So of course, number one, alam nyo na yun, di ba? Yung afferent arteriole natin, which delivers blood coming from the renal artery. So kung titingnan ninyo itong red here, so if this is our kidney, no? The red here would be yung ating arterial supply coming from the renal artery. So, papunta siya sa ating kidneys. Okay? So, it supplies, of course, yung ating mga nephrons. Okay? So, another blood supply, which supplies venous blood. Take note, ha? Venous blood ang kanyang sinusupply would be your renal portal system. So, this blue here on each side would be your renal portal vein, which supplies naman venous blood into your kidneys. So, kung titingnan ninyo, the arterial supply actually supplies yung ating glomerulus areas, while yung ating vein, no, renal portal vein, which supplies venous blood, supplies yung ating peritubular capillaries, and it drains now into your central vein. So, naghahalo yung ating arterial and venous blood at the level of your peritubular capillaries, and it will be drained by your central vein. Okay? So, this renal portal vein, which supplies venous blood, actually the blood comes from the hind limbs, okay, of the animal, no? And then papunta siya dito. So, this blood supplies around half to 2/3 of the blood going to the kidneys of, again, avian. Okay? So, merong dalawang blood supply, arterial and venous supply. Okay? And the formation of urine, no? Basically, sabi natin kanina the same. So, kung the same ang formation ng urine, so the steps in mammalian urine formation also occurs in avian urine formation. You have first glomerular filtration, and then, of course, tubular reabsorption, and then tubular secretion. Yun naman yung mga steps natin. Ano? So, the same also in avian urine formation. But then again, no, since meron tayong dalawang nephron types, no, the avian kidney can alternate the use between these two types of nephron depending on the need of water conservation. No? So, if the bird will need to conserve water, no, kunwari dehydrated siya, then of course the mammalian nephron will predominate. That's why in normal circumstances, no, when the bird doesn't have any volume deficit, the predominant nephron type working would be the reptilian. Okay? So, ang renal plasma flow also will determine the pressure, as you already know, and also, of course, it will affect the glomerular filtration rate. Tama? Naaalala nyo ba yan? renal plasma flow has a direct relationship with that of pressure, and this will affect your glomerular filtration rate. Okay. In mammals, what we usually use as a substance to measure GFR would be creatinine. But in birds, they don't use creatinine kasi ang creatinine can be reabsorbed back. So in avian, they use the substance inulin to estimate the GFR because inulin cannot be reabsorbed or neither it is secreted. So it is purely through glomerular filtration that inulin is excreted in the body of a bird. So ito ang ginagamit nilang substance to estimate GFR, and the average GFR in a bird would be 3 ml per kilogram per minute. So usually naman, kung 1 kilo lang yung bird mo, so 3 ml per minute times 60. 60 times 3, that would be 180 ml per minute. Ang nag-filter na
Per hour.
Okay? And birds auto-regulate also the pressure, no? Capillary glomerular pressure by myogenic reflex. No? So it seems na wala silang tubuloglomerular reflex. They only auto-regulate via myogenic reflex. Okay? So concentration of urine is basically the same. Pinakamadami din ang ma-absorb sa proximal tubule. Doon sa ating mammalian nephron, meron tayong loop of Kinley, so magkakaroon ng concentration and dilution. And in the collecting duct also is the site for ADH and aldosterone action. So the collecting duct also regulate water reabsorption in avian. Okay? So again, urine formation can also be affected by hormones. If you take note, the same ang mga hormones natin. The ADH in bird is actually called arginine vasopressin. So arginine vasopressin has also the same function as ADH. So if it is present, then water will be reabsorbed in the collecting duct. And then, of course, angiotensin 2 is part of your RAAS. Tama ba? So, it has many effects,
Nyo ba,
diba?
guys? Ano ang effect na angiotensin 2? Pag na-activate ang RAAS, what would be the action of angiotensin 2? Ilan yun? 4? Sige, give one.
Vasoconstriction, stimulate the release of ADH, aldosterone, tapos stimulators to.
First, okay? Kasi basically, di ba, pag na-activate lang naman ng ating RAAS, pag mababa yung systemic, yung ating circulating blood volume, no? So, all of which, vasoconstriction will increase pressure, no? Tapos, the ADH will cause reabsorption of water. Aldosterone is reabsorption of sodium, so that water will also follow it, and then increase in thirst. Okay? So meron ding aldosterone for avian. Ano ulit yung action ng aldosterone? 3.
Reabsorption of sodium, secretion of potassium, and hydrogen.
Okay, hydrogen ion. Okay, that's very good. Then your atrial natriuretic peptide. Ano ulit ang action ng atrial natriuretic peptide natin? Ha? O, nakakalimutan nyo na yan.
Immediate na yung release ng ADH po.
No, not ADH.
Aldosterone.
Aldosterone, okay?
Aldosterone.
If you remember, this is opposite naman ng RAAS, di ba? Pag may hypervolemia, the one that is being released by the myocardium, the atrial myocardium, is this. So that
sodium will not be reabsorbed, di ba? Kasi antagonist siya yung effect ng aldosterone. Sodium stays in the filtrate and it attracts water. It decreases your hypervolemia and it decreases your pressure. Okay? So pareho yung mga hormones, magkaiba lang yung pangalan. Arginine, vasopressin products.
Including ADH secretion, aldosterone secretion, vasoconstriction. Okay? Hello? Okay.
Hello, Doc.
Which involves A and P naman for hypervolemia. Kasi RAAS is involved sa hypovolemia cases. Okay? So, the same. Magkaiba lang ang pangalan ng ADH sa birds. Okay? Okay, another difference of mammalian, of avian urine naman versus mammalian urine. Okay? So, ang major difference lang naman would be uric acid is the greatest nitrogenous waste that is eliminated in chickens. No? Sa mammalian, it would be urea. Diba? Sa amphibians, that would be ammonia. Saan nga galing ang ating nitrogen that will be eliminated? Ganito lang yan.
Saan daw galing yung nitrogen to be eliminated? Naalala nyo? Is it from glucose, fats, proteins?
Yes, sir.
Proteins comes from protein metabolism.
No? Can you still remember the urea cycle? Do you know where does it come from? Ay. Saan ba galing itong nitrogen?
Ayan.
Hello?
Ayun, ipo-forward ko.
Yung source niya, ito, acid. The amine group actually goes, so, instead of ammonia, kasi magiging ammonia siya and ammonia is toxic, di ba? Instead, pupunta siya sa urea cycle to produce now urea, which is non-toxic, no? Pag nag-accumulate. But still, it is a waste product of metabolism, so it should be excreted via the kidneys. No? In birds, yung urea nila, no? Instead of urea, what is formed would be uric acid. No? Uric acid, yung major nitrogenous component na na-excrete. And mind you, ang uric acid can excrete twice more nitrogen than urea. So, mas efficient pa yung pag-excrete ng nitrogen ng ating mga birds. No? And why uric acid? It's because, remember the renal portal system? Because of the renal portal system, mas madami ang nagpa-perfuse sa ating peritubular capillaries. And because mas madaming blood, then yung secretion ng uric acid would be more. No? So, mas madaming masisecrete na uric acid. Remember, nasisecrete ang uric acid, ha? Ang urea is also via secretion. Okay? More via secretion than filtration, no? So once more blood flows because of the renal portal system, no? Mas madaming uric acid ang pupunta sa ating tubules, and then mas mako-concentrate yung urine. And yung uric acid natin nagpe-precipitate because of the high concentration. Okay? And it's very good na uric acid ang form ng nitrogenous waste ng ating birds. It's because ang ating uric acid is insoluble in water and it can be excreted from the body or from the kidneys using as little water as possible. So you see, di ba, ang urine ng ating bird is actually not much, no? So the uric acid is secreted with less water as possible. Not unlike urea, it will be secreted with a lot of water. Okay? Okay, and the last difference of avian renal physiology with that of your mammalian would be there's an post-renal modification of urethral urine. Remember, coming from the nephron, no, pupunta ang urine sa ating renal pelvis and then it goes to the ureter and then diretso siya sa ating cloaca. Okay, ito yung ureter natin, no? So, diretso papunta dito na yung ating urine. But in birds, no, this segment, no, meron chances na mag-backflow yung urine in the cloaca going into the colon because of reverse peristalsis. Naaalala niyo ba ang reverse peristalsis, kakabsat, or what you call anti-peristalsis? What is, ano daw ang reverse or anti-peristalsis? Anyone? Versus peristalsis. It's just the direction, guys, hindi ba? Pag reverse, it is going into the direction of the mouth, diba? Pag peristalsis is aboral, no? Away from the mouth. So ito, yung urine that goes from the ureter going to the cloaca, pwede siyang mag-backflow dito because of this motility anti-peristalsis. The difference between peristalsis and anti-peristalsis, Miss Geyser, Miss Gaon. Tingnan ko nga kung yung alam
Hello po,
niyo.
Doc. Baka naririnig po ba?
Yes.
So, yung peristalsis po kasi, parang diretso siya na nag-flow yung mga na-absorb na, kumbaga ba naman nakabahay, yung mga materials na na-absorb ng katawan diretso. Samantalang yung anti-peristalsis, diretso siya, I mean, from entrance hanggang exit yung pathway niya. Samantalang yung anti-peristalsis, nagkakaroon siya ng mechanism na kumbaga ipupush niya pabalik yung mga pa-exit na sana na mga materials para magkaroon ng sobrang absorption ng mga nutrients doon. Ganun daw.
Okay. So that's correct, no? So the difference is just the direction. No? Pag sinabi mong peristalsis, you are talking about direction of the motility from the mouth going to the anus. Tama naman siya kasi diretso pababa. While pag sinabi mong anti-peristalsis, so that would be from the anus, no? Pabalik. So papuntang orally yung direction ng paggalaw or motility. And because of that, no, yung urine from the cloaca, nagbabackflow ngayon siya sa colon. And in the colon, because again of this peristaltic movement, no, water is being reabsorbed as well as sodium chloride, no. So the urine would become more pasty. So, kasi nawalan na ng water, i-reabsorb back kasi yung water. So, the final urine that will be excreted by the bird will be pasty, no, with almost no water. So, ganito yung urine ng bird, no, tawag nilang mute, no. So, it contains some fecal material, and yung urine nila is cream-colored, no? It contains mucus and a lot of urate. Urate is just your uric acid salt, no? So, ito na yung ating bird urine. So, the nitrogenous waste, which is uric acid, is excreted with almost no water at all. So, nako-conserve ng bird yung water, okay, inside. Okay? So, that would be yung ating avian renal physiology. Do you have any question? Ayan, may questions kayo, guys? So, very simple, no? Yung ating, avian renal tissue. Just the salient features.
Do you have any questions on avian renal physio? So that would be all of the coverage of your midterm exam, from thermoregulation to avian renal physiology, guys. Yung mga kailangang humabol, this is your time to study well, no? Kasi the renal physio part is the most if you compare it to digestive and respiratory, siya yung pinakamadali na intindihin. And this is a time na magpondo kayo ng points. Kasi when we go to the respiratory part, yun sa lahat ng mga tinuruan ko na mga dami ng batches, it's the respiratory na talagang doon sila nahihirapan. So, kung gusto nyong humabol, magpondo kayo ng madami in these midterms. Okay? Kasi yung respiratory part is siya yung pinakamahirap na part ng systemic tissue. Okay? So, please, read yung mga modules na binibigay sa inyo. And study well for this midterms. So, kung gusto, I can give a quiz by Monday covering yung yung mga na-discuss natin na hindi nakasama sa quiz natin last So, I think hindi pa nakasama doon yung acid-base balance, avian renal physio. Ano pa hindi nakasama doon?
Yung renal clearance.